Welcome everyone to the Voice of the Terminus show, number 71. I'm joined today by Lex. Say hello, Lex.
Hello, people.
And say hello, Josh.
Hey, guys.
And we're here to do our belated, delayed AMA, AUA, Ask Me Anything, Ask Us Anything. As you might be aware of, yesterday I had outages with my internet provider, so I couldn't be online, but everything seems to be back to normal, and I hope everything's coming through fine. So we're here to basically answer your questions out there in chat, and you can ask us anything you want, be it personally directed at one of the individuals, or something relating to Pantheon, or any views and opinions we have. It's your show today to ask us anything you like, and we do have one question to get kind of ball rolling. This was from Twitter. Jeff Henderson asks the VOT, what games are each of you playing now? So we'll start with you, Lex.
Well, personally, I'm playing a little bit of Rebuild EQ, which is an emulated server currently in development. I'm one of their testers. I'm also streaming Empyrean, Galactic Survival, which I'm a huge fan of. And I just today started Borderlands, the pre-sequel.
What about you, Josh?
Well, for me, I've been having some great fun running around in Ghost Recon Wildlands. I love me some sniping. And I think XCOM, reacquainting myself with XCOM 2 itself as well. Because there's an expansion on the horizon, so seeing how that's going to go. And apart from that, nothing much.
Cool. And for me, it's basically the same. Spending some time in Ghost Recon Wildlands, getting away from the whole MMO genre to keep myself fresh and excited for Pantheon. So that's all I've been basically doing. Kind of stripped for time as well to even play games. I mean, we did recently play EverQuest 2 a few months back, quite excessively. So those are the two main games that I've been focusing on. So,
And Shy?
got any questions, Shy, already for us, or?
No, what has she been playing?
Yes.
Mostly EQ2, and when I have time, I jump on EQ1. But to be honest, I haven't had much time lately, so
Cool.
that's about it. Nice and easy.
Yep. So it doesn't feel awkward, guys. Ask questions. Put them in there. Whatever you want, we will answer them. And we don't want this awkward silence. It's an AMA. We're there to answer questions related to whatever you want. You can direct them directly at Lexa. If you want to ask Lexa a question personally, or Joshua, myself, or even Shy, who's here as well, doing God's work of looking after chat. And so it doesn't stay awkward. This, everybody, you might recognise this, came back. I'm really happy actually that it came back. This was the t-shirt that we sent out to Brad, and it came back in one piece, perfectly fine. Unfortunately, nobody was there to receive it because I sent it out with tracking ID, and with tracking ID it has to be signed for by a recipient, and that's never really happened. So the t-shirt came back safely. It's still here, and I will gladly send it back out. You just have to get in touch with us and we will send it back out. And I blame Shy personally. I think she had her hands involved in why the t-shirt did not make it.
Yes.
We
have a question.
Wait!
I know. What will be the key classes in a group? Tank, healer, and chanter.
Well, if you're going to go into class archetypes, obviously tank, healer, your damage dealer, and then you're going to have your utility slot. whereas we don't have the Trinity anymore. Pantheon, obviously. We're going to have to go. Yeah, just those four. I mean, that's kind of what even Brad said during one of the streams.
And to
If
continue
you're-
on, they would
Right.
like to know what class do you feel most people will want in a group, for example?
Well,
Clerics.
at the end of the day, we know it's going to be a group-centric core game where you're going to need your tank to do the tanking and spanking, you know, taking the hits and everything. You're going to need your healer to make sure the group stays alive. You're going to need your crowd controllers to kind of fend off, and you're going to need your damage dealers to do damage. So technically, like Lex already said, everybody's going to be of value because it's such a core-centric group game. You know, it's based on grouping, so there's going to be hardly any soloing, or it's going to be impossible for anybody to go and solo stuff. You're going to have that group, and you're going to have your tank in place, your healer, your CCers, and your damage dealers. So I think a lot of people, though, if we go into the specific classes in their core element, when it comes to healers, I can see at the moment, because there's not that much info on the druid, and we haven't seen much of the cleric, but the cleric is what we would call the prime healer. So from a class perspective, I would see a lot of people looking for a cleric. When it comes to tanks, I could not say. We've only so far seen the warrior. We do not know how the hybrid tanks are going to work. We don't know what the outcome is going to be for the Dire Lord or for the Paladin. When it comes to CC classes, we do not know anything about the Bard. We have seen the Enchanter. We've seen the Wizard do a bit of crowd control. We've seen the Rogue kind of get involved and do a bit of CCing and blockage. But at this moment, I think core CC would be most probably the Enchanter at this point in time until we know more. DD wise, no idea. I could not pick one from the damage dealers.
Yeah, I do think that crowd control is going to be a greater focus in any other MMO that they have out there currently. Just based on the footage we've seen so far, we see that the respawn rates can be pretty quick compared to the amount of damage and the killability rate that you have on a lot of the mobs. So there has to be some thinking around that, I think.
Okay. We have another question from Arius. Do you think Rangers will be more EQ1 style or EQ2 style? And does that leave room for Channeler-esque builds with the Druid spells and a Ranger?
That's a freaking good question. Ranger in EverQuest 2 is one of those classes that kind of fell between the cracks for a lot of it, because the Assassin was technically just a more melee-focused Ranger. And with a lot of dungeons being so tight or close quarters, the Assassin would obviously do a lot better in most cases. In that respect, I kind of want to. I don't want that to happen to the Ranger in Pantheon. I would love to see them be perhaps a range class that could work at multiple distances, so that even in a dungeon, they can still do their bow and arrow, and they can still kind of be the howitzer of a group. You know, not as much as a like a wizard, but still pretty potent.
I would have looked at it from this perspective rather than having EverQuest 2 as the selected choice of game. I would have taken Vanguard, to be quite honest, because he's been, VR been more involved in EverQuest 1 and in Vanguard than they have ever in EverQuest 2. So, but as we've mainly seen, they've taken a lot of the old style EverQuest approach, and I think there's going to be a mix of some of the core dynamics from Vanguard that were pretty modern for its time, and the old twist and kind of melt them together. So we're going to have like a nice balanced mix of things. That's how I think they're gonna look at it.
I also think that, and I hope that the Ranger and Druid are quite distinctive in their spells and that type of thing. That that when a Ranger comes on, he's got his own unique brand of spells and damage that he can do. And that there's room for him and a druid together, or him, a druid, and a channeler in a group at the end of the day.
I mean, channeler was...
It would be nice if the Ranger gets some of the channeling style spells, because it kind of does add a whole new layer to it. But on the same side, you look at it and go, the time you spend channeling is time you could have been swinging your swords or shooting arrows. So you have to kind of balance that time spent idle so that you're not getting like these massive dead spots in your gameplay.
And so it has to be fun at the end of the day,
Yes.
I guess.
The way I look at the channeling, for instance, I would take a different approach to it. The EverQuest 2 channeler, as you know, is a healer. It had a pet, a elemental pet, some kind of hybrid thing that you could switch out, and everything would do damage. You would heal doing when you did your DPS and everything. For adding a channeler-ish kind of effect to the Ranger, I would look at him maybe channeling off creatures off nature, using those elements to maybe buff the group even. He channels the strength of the bear, and it gives the group a little bonus, a 2% strength bonus or something like that for a period of time. That's how I see him channeling stuff off of the or using channeler abilities to that advantage.
Yeah. On the idea of buffs, paladins, or at least mid to high level paladins in EverQuest 1, had their own little buff line that was kind of like clerics, but it's stacked with cleric ones. I don't remember the symbol. For the love of God, don't string me up. But I think it was only like a buff or maybe two. I would love to see that with Rangers. Kind of take them that whole hybrid route where they're like druids, but they're so separate that they have their own buff line.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be something crazy, but it's just something that's like a Ranger you would think of as a more aggressive form of druid. It's a druid warrior. So, a little more aggressive. So maybe their buffs focus on attack power or crit power or whatever,
Or channeling their animalistic pets at the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a question from Deity989. Do you know if the subscription model will include anything like a Plex system, a way for players to pay with in-game currency?
Not at this moment.
No indication of anything remotely like that, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's no information so far if they're going to support a similar system to what SOE Daybreak Games offer with the Chrono, or as you mentioned, the Plex system. It might be something that they implement somewhere down the road, maybe. We do not know, because what we do know at the moment, there's no plans for a in-game shop. There's going to be no shop in-game where you can purchase fluff at this point in time, where that would fall under that category. So at this point in time, it looks like it's going to be subscription for now.
Yep.
Okay. We have a question from Guzami77, and this is to all of you guys. Do we have a sense of zone sizes yet? I've only played EQ, so in those terms, should we expect zones to be about the same size as EQ? 2 times larger, 3 times larger? How large do you think the world will be at start?
Honestly, if I had to guess, I would say 2 to 3, maybe 4 times larger, larger than the EverQuest 1 zones. But that is just straight out of my rear end guess. They haven't really showed us a lot in terms of the boundaries or even the zone line. So it is hard to tell. All you can really do is go by their viewing angles and see obvious zone
distances,
borders, like a mountain range. You obviously can't go past that. It's obviously the edge of the zone, and you just got to kind of take those and just guess the size of the zone. but they do look bigger. I would be very upset if they weren't larger than EverQuest by at least double. Simply because EverQuest is 20 years old.
Mm.
Let's do things on a grander scale. Look at PlanetSide 2. The game has massive maps, but it's a whole progressive loading thing from WoW, or at least WoW innovated it. So it's like, I don't know if they could pull it off or not, but
well, you know, from viewing the streams, from what we saw, you know, the buildings in comparison to the NPCs and the spacing of narrow pathways and so forth and so forth. These zones are going to be extensionally bigger than what EverQuest definitely had to offer, and maybe even in comparison to EverQuest 2, slightly bigger as well. So it's gonna feel.
I gotta take this, guys. Sorry.
Yep, no worries. It's gonna feel a lot bigger, and I think it will be on a bigger scale from what we've seen in the streams. Just looking out at Avendir's Pass, or what they last showed.
Another aspect as well is also the various depths in the open plan dungeons. So there might be 3, 4, 5 layers downwards that would also count as space as well. So it might not be as wide or as long as one would expect, but there's probably a lot of depth as well to the zones.
I mean, it's going to be a big mix. You're going to have smaller zones, you're going to have bigger zones. Lex said it perfectly. We haven't seen any zone boundaries yet, and so forth. We haven't seen the team run through an entire zone and kind of map it out for us. So, but there's going to be variances in size. You're going to have some areas that are going to be fairly big. I can presume that Avendir's Pass is going to be fairly big. When you look at the map, you can even see it on the stream. There's Avendir's Pass. I don't know if you can see the mouse. I'm not quite sure. But here's Avendir's Pass at the top, and it goes all the way down here. So it's going to be a pretty large area, whereas Wild's End's going to be slightly smaller, and so forth and so forth. So you're going to have a mix of different sizes of zones, and like Josh added, layering. Wow, so.
Okay, we had another question from Guzami77. How does a dev team determine zone sizes so early in development? And how do they know or test the zone populations and other factors of lag or bugs?
That's a very good question. Well, basically, you know, based off of their lore and what they're trying to tell us as a story, is kind of like, you know, it's a mind map. They basically have their lore, their visions on what they want to set out to do. As it goes to basically designing the world itself, I guess it will be based off of concept arts that they kind of design, like with the map and everything, and they take it from there. With the size aspect, they'll sit down in meetings, discuss. So what do we want this area to literally kind of represent? Is it going to be a larger area? Is it going to be a smaller area? And so forth. So it's going to be a mix of you know, sitting down, looking at concept arts, going through the lore, discussing that with the lore masters, and then basically slowly going ahead and designing their respected areas and individual zones. As it goes to testing out the zones with the core elements of players being involved, that's something that they will do when they go into their so-called pre-alpha testing, alpha testing, and stress testing. They got the small team of people in the game already from within VR testing the game, and there's no real safe bet to say, you know, what is secure, what's going to work in these zones, what can these zones actually handle before it starts getting critical, and we might have to open up sister shards and sister zones for these individual areas and so forth and so forth. So that's something they cannot determine right now. They have a broad vision, and obviously with their years of service, they already kind of, you know what the technology nowadays can handle, what the technology back then can handle, and they base it off of that. So
yeah, exactly. And I guess that's the alpha, closed betas, and things like that. You say will actually be for, and then they will be able to see. And also, do they not compile as well to make sure that the zone's more streamlined at the end of the day?
Exactly. They compile a lot of data. So everybody logging in, running into a zone, it all gets registered. And they basically compile that at the end, pull out a data file. They can see exactly where things are going and bouncing up and down and causing critical errors and load delays and stuff like that. So there's so much they can do. They can do all the stress tests exactly, and figure out where the latency issues are going and what they need to do to maybe optimize it. So it's not easy to say from our perspective. This is what we think they would know, how we think they would do it, based off what we kind of got to know over the years, being in multiple MMOs and multiple betas and alphas and you name it. Yeah, Lex is well, we'll get Lex on that as well. So Shai, keep that question up, and we'll get Lex's perspective because he has a more developed mind for this kind of stuff.
Alrighty. Didn't they say Amberfest is about 300 people approximately? And that's a question from Xmoko.
I can't remember. I'll have to basically look back to ask or to answer that question. I do remember them mentioning something in the hundreds, for Amber Fate, it being able to compile in the hundreds. I think I remember them saying that. I don't know if the exact number was 300 or not, but I think it was in the hundreds where they can basically handle that.
And we had a excuse me. We had a question from Massage ASMR. Can I ask what will be progression for skills and spells examples? As you go from level 10 to 20, say, do you need to train, pick up scroll spells? How do you level up in skills and damage, etc.?
Do you want to go first, or Josh?
No, basically, I'm not too sure exactly how it's going to work inside the game as well. From what we've seen on the videos, it is going to be the skills and spell progression through leveling up. But they haven't really even touched much on whether you're going to have trainers between levels or not. And I think they're still deciding that side of it.
Yeah, it's basically, they've kind of addressed this question in the FAQ and kind of wrapped it up to be kind of more of a broad, open perspective that you might have trainers in the game, you might have spell drops, so you go out and find spells. It's something they still haven't determined on how they want to do. It could also end up being multiple ways of obtaining spells. You could end up, doing it through a class trainer, through item drop, or through crafting. We don't know. So there's more ways than one. And to be honest, it was up to me, or if I had a choice, if I would prefer to have a mix. To be honest, give me some variants. Spice it up. Don't just give me on ding I get a new bunch of spells, or on ding I have to go to my trainer, or on ding I have to go and get my crafter to do them. Give me a mix. Yeah. Maybe have special spells out there that only drop from certain monsters, and maybe some spells where you have to go to a trainer because you have to learn the arts of using that spell, like Fireball, for instance. Me being, if I'm a wizard, I'm not just going to go and get this spell and start shooting off fireballs. I expect it to fizzle, me to lose control over the spell, so I would have to go to a trainer and basically learn over time how to master it. That's how I would kind of like to see the approach done, basically.
Yeah. Correct. I'd also like to see where you discover in, I don't know, your local tavern maybe, or through some lore, that this is the best person with the best skill for a ranger mid-level, and he lives in a remote area in the mountains. So you'd actually have to make that an adventure just to try and get to that skill itself. So yeah, I think that they'll have a lot of fun with that type of thing, I think.
Okay. Massage would also like to know if we have a quick estimate on pre-alpha access as of yet.
Plan is 2017, as it is in the FAQ, and that's basically where it currently is. It's estimated for 2017, and we're just gonna have to basically wait it out. We're now split in the middle of 2017. Quarter 3 is now sneaking up on us. So it can be anywhere between July and November, December time, but it's definitely planned for 2017 as it currently stands.
And also, the one thing that I would say is that with the amount of silence, so to speak, from the actual developers, that's a good thing, because it means that they are working at a speed to make sure that the pre-alpha is going to be done as soon as possible for us.
Okay, we have a question from Arius. With the evolution of modern games with sandbox elements, what sandbox elements do you think or hope that Pantheon will bring to the table? Open world housing, player-driven economy, guilds concurring territories in game?
Well, basically, the first two is actually something that, or the second one, player-driven economy, is something that is actually in their tenants, in their game tenants. They want to have a player-driven economy. It's going to be us, the players, who are going to, determine the economy in game. Open world housing. There's definitely plans to have housing in the game at some point after post-launch. How they're going to do it? They could go multiple ways with this. They could have it internally within the cities. Depending on how big, how broad the world is, what options they have available to them, how in depth they want to go. They could, ultimately also offer open player housing within the world, and guilds concurring territories in game. There's already been a post on MMORPG.com from Chris Perkins addressing exactly that point. We talked about this last week with the Guild Alliance system, last week, the Guild Alliance system. There's plans of having guild wars and guild alliances within the game. We do not know how they're going to impact it into PvE, but for PvP servers, there's definitely going to be guild wars and guild guild alliances. So they might even opt out to offer certain guilds, the right to take over a territory, a certain zone area for whatever period of time. It could happen. It all depends on what they feel comfortable with and what they can actually pull off.
It's a good question. With technology as well, they can do so much in today compared to when EverQuest was launched originally. So yeah, you could definitely have battles for territory. It's just basically what are the tenets of the game and what is the ultimate goal that they're striving for, whether that type of thing is even something that they want in the game. But anything's possible with what they have available to them.
Okay, we have a question from Guzami77. Will VR support selling of accounts or items for real life money?
That's a tough one to answer, especially with the pledge packages that they have. I can see where this question is coming from, and technically, if somebody wants to sell their game or their account, it might be better run if it was handled directly through services that VR determine and put in play for many reasons. But with the broad packages that they have, it's going to be very hard to set a value on accounts. Personally, if you got VIP accounts, you got the champion accounts, the support accounts, and then you got the normal accounts. How do I justify asking for at least $1,000 for my VIP account? Because I put $1,000 in there, and this, that, and the other. I've got such and such on there, and with items, I don't think it's gonna be something that they will personally look at right now. We don't know what they're gonna do in the future. As for items, I can't see that happening. I can't see them supporting anything to do with selling items for real life currency. I think that will be something that they will definitely not want to support.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that it'll be a difficult sell for them to allow people to sell their accounts, so to speak. But that's definitely something that they would have to address directly. I just don't see them going down that route at the end of the day as well.
Actually, I do have a question for Lex, but he's kind of occupied at the moment, so.
I think he's finishing up right now.
Yeah. You can ask us anything you want. If you want to ask us anything personal, an individual, go for it. You don't have to just, ask.
Be around the game.
Beat around the bush with the game and everything. You can ask us personal stuff if you want. We're not going to hide, so we're not going to answer that. If you got anything you want to ask, just ask. And if we can't answer it or don't want to, we will let you know if we don't want to answer a certain question. So Lex is getting ready. So now, before you ask him that question, can you?
Wants to know what your favorite food is. What is your favorite food?
Now we'll ask that one in a minute. Can we just go and look back at that very first question about the zone sizes, etc., and get his input for that?
Yeah, he wanted to. Gusami77 wanted to find out, how does a dev team determine zone sizes so early in development, and how do they know or test zone populations and other factors of lag or bugs?
Usually, you test the zone size mostly by trial and error, but these guys have been around the MMO world and game development for so long that they kind of just know off the top of their heads the raw numbers. They know that this by this, it feels cramped versus a this by this kind of thing. When you start doing game development, which by all means, please get Unity. Look at just making the maps. It's not super difficult. There's lots of tutorials out there, but it'll give you a real good insight in how it's all done and put together. And hi, Catharsis, how you doing, buddy? In terms of how many people you can fit into a zone and all that all comes down to a lot of factors. How many mobs you have in there, how many decorations, how many towns, how many, everything with a video card is rendered through, polygons. How many polygons can you push or render with your video card? And you'll see a lot of people talking about like graphical optimization. 9 times out of 10, they're talking about lowering the poly count, which is just making less shapes to make your big object, like your plant. Instead of it being 320 polygons, and now it's only 120, which cuts down on how much your video card has to render, means you can fit more in the zone before you get lag. I know I'm kind of going over a lot of people's heads here, getting a little technical, but again, with the rise of powerful hardware, more optimized engines, it's so much easier to fit a lot of stuff on your screens now. There's less worry about putting too much. Now it's about putting too much detail, because more detail takes a lot more rendering power for all these little minute, sharp details versus rendering a model.
Yeah, we got the more fluffy answer. Yours was definitely the more technical one, but very cool.
I'm a dev. I'm a talk the dev talk, and those of you that are devs out there, or at least computer literate or highly literate people, this is not a definitive answer from me. This is a tip of the iceberg. Get you a little bit of understanding. That's it. That is by no means the whole deal. But yeah, there's a lot to it.
So you had another question for Lex as well, didn't you?
Yeah, it was mostly about why don't you tell us about your chatbot?
Oh, okay. Gee, who asked that one?
Me.
Yeah. So, in my spare time, I've been messing around with a little email bot. Basically, you will send him a question in email. He will send you an answer with everything that he knows. For instance, you could say, "What are the Pantheon pledges?" And he would tell you that these are the Pantheon pledges, these are the levels, blah, 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 you know, so on and so forth. And then you could ask him in more detail, what's included in the Watcher's Pledge? And he would tell you, list everything that's in the Watcher's Pledge for you. We're also, once it's a little more in a ready state, we're going to actually migrate and add Discord chat on top of email. So that way, if you don't have your phone or your tablet or you're at your computer, but you have access to simple email, you could email him for a question, or you can, if you have Discord on your phone, go to Discord and just ask him, "Hey, what's this?" and he'll tell you. We're going to be doing a lot of the lore, a lot of the little bits and pieces, pretty much anything that you can think of that's related to Pantheon or the VOT as well, because it is our little tool. Keep an eye on our Twitter, or my Twitter, which is @Hydraic. It's down here somewhere, I think. And I'll post some little updates. I do need people to ask it questions time to time to make sure things are working and to help me track down bugs. So if you're interested, hey, let me know.
Cool. So we had another question, didn't we, about food?
We had a general question from Xmoko. He just wanted to know what your favorite foods are.
I'll go first. And I'm going to have to actually list a bunch of them because there's not just one favourite. So, lasagna, shepherd's pie, Yorkshire puddings, and bangers and mash, mate. Those are mine. Those are my most favourites out there. My wife makes an awesome... all four. Wife's awesome at cooking them.
Well, I like a good macaroni cheese. Lots and lots of cheese on there with bacon bits at the top, and yeah, really, really good. Nice crispy bits. And also love a good Indian curry. The hotter the better. And those are the two favorites that I have. Oh, and a nice fat juicy steak as well. I'm a real meat eater when it comes to that.
For me, I'm a pretty simple guy. I love ham. By extension, obviously bacon. My wife has introduced me to some interesting cuisine. Loation. I actually really like it. But I know it's not technically food, but I'm also a fan of a very good bourbon.
I like a nice rum.
Very, very good stuff that I get like maybe once every 10 years.
I don't drink at all, so...
I shouldn't be, but...
Yeah.
So we have a question from Arius. And he would like to know, well, I hope it's a he or a she. I think it's a he. Have we been informed if Pantheon will be supporting a guide system, as in guides, volunteer helpers? And if so, will our time with EQ and EQ2 be taken into account?
I'll go and answer this one. Gosin has already, there's been lots of questions, a lot of interest in guide programs, guide systems, and there are plans for something of a guide system to be implemented. They're currently not at that point to give out any details or talk about it, but it is something that the devs would definitely like to do. And Kilson will be the guy that will be in charge of the guide system. But as far as your EQ and EQ2 time goes, that's got nothing to do with Pantheon. That's Daybreak Games, and this is Visionary Realms. That boat has sailed, even though Brad was the original creator of EverQuest. Those are two separate entities. So your time in EverQuest and EverQuest 2 will not be taken into.
So are you saying that no experience whatsoever? That type of thing? Your experience in helping and
are you talking about like being a guide in those, like
if you're being a guide in those, then obviously that's your experience that you have. But there will be a application process. So they want to pick out the right people for the job. Obviously your experience will definitely go a long way. But it's not just based off of your time that you spent in EverQuest and EverQuest 2. Those are completely and two different areas as well. You know, those are games that have completely different models and approaches to themselves. Pantheon is more sandboxy. There's going to be new systems in place, etc., that are going to require new skills. But it's going to be an application process. Anybody can basically apply once they have it all sorted out, and they will pick out the right people for the job. Your past experience can help you. It might not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you were a guide in another game, it doesn't matter what game it is, it's still going to go a long way. Because you obviously have experience using developer tools or the tools provided to you by developers, and you kind of get a feel for what's proper help versus what's improper help, which goes a long way. In terms of just straight out playtime, like I've got 10 years playing EverQuest. That means nothing in being a guide, because I would make an absolutely terrible guide, and I know this.
Yeah.
So the next question from Xmoko. If you could add a pledge, what would it be?
That's a nice question.
I'd add a $30 pledge that gave me forum access and an in-game title. That's it.
Good one.
That's a very good question. What would it be?
Because even $50, I'm cheap as hell. That $50 is like, oh my god, like holding on to the cash. Like, don't take it from me. $30, I'm more willing to part with. I'm
just gonna go and just go off the bat here and just go completely wild and crazy. This is all this is not to be taken serious, and not to don't nail me down on this. I'd do a $1 pledge. $1 per day. What you got is a game. You got the game. You pay $1 a day. Boom, and you can decide if you want to spend $30 a month playing the game, or $15, or whatever.
If they did that, like $1 a day, that is basically your subscription and 2 copies of the game. I know a lot of couples that would jump on that. Like, instantly, they'd be like, done, sold.
You basically would pay time for the time you actually spend in game.
Yeah, and although you're giving up a digital copy in that deal for money ahead of time, not necessarily a bad thing. Digital is technically nothing. You just copy paste. It's digital, but it does put a strain on your systems. It takes more resources from your servers for those additional 2 players. But that's where your subscription fee comes into. So I think in the end, it actually be very good.
Yeah, I like those.
Yep. So ask your questions, guys.
Yes, they're real.
Okay, well,
I did not get a boot job.
Do you have any pets at your house?
Nope.
3. I got 2 cats and a tarantula. Used to have 3 cats.
Do you know where that tarantula is, though?
Yeah. I know exactly where Napoleon is.
Better not be being mailed to me, I tell you what.
Check your mailbox and find out.
Oh, no. Somebody else can check the mailbox.
Stick your hand in that mailbox. Let me know if you feel something fuzzy.
Yeah, no pets for me as well. Strange, because I
When
love animals.
when Napoleon molts, I'll show everybody. It's like
That's
this
okay,
big.
thanks.
He's huge.
That's quite
I used
alright,
to.
thank you.
I basically grew up in a zoo. In my childhood, growing up, we had like I think 6 Labradors, 3 budgies, 3 chinchillas, 3 Persian cats, 7 goldfish, and
Partridge in a pear tree. Yeah.
and some other animals. And this is basically all at once, guys. All at once. This is what we actually had, all at once. And no more pets for me. If I ever did get an animal, it would be either a husky, or it would be a Persian cat, maybe. That would be the extent of it.
Yeah, I'd get dogs as well.
We have a question from Fady, who would like to know what is going on about open PvP.
We don't really have a lot of details on the PvP yet. I would assume that on the PvP shards or servers, whatever they decide to call them, there will be open PvP. On the flagged PvE servers, no, there might be like designated PvP areas or such, but that's probably all that we're going to get. Again, don't take my word for it, but that's just from everything I can remember.
Nailed it. Yep.
Oh, and I should mention, our tarantula is almost 30 years old.
30
Wow.
years old. Does it live that long?
Yep, the females can live up to and exceed 30 years old.
I didn't need to hear that, thank you.
What about the males?
Males tend to live like 8 to 12.
Because the women, it's like, they're like
fact.
what do you call those other those the
Black widows?
No, that insect that rips the head off the male.
Mantis,
Yeah,
praying
yeah.
Well, fun fact though, like our tarantula Napoleon, he only eats like twice a year.
You keep him on a strict diet, dude.
He only eats crickets.
Hey, leave
Did
my
you
bird
hear?
out of
Did you
this.
hear that, Shy?
Leave my bird out of this. Oh my god.
There we
No,
go.
the actual insect crickets.
It's okay, Cricket.
Cricket's
He didn't
gone.
mean it. They didn't mean it, Cricket. It's okay.
Don't
Picking
worry,
on my
cricket.
poor
I've
parrot
got
like
a
that.
hankering
Shame
for
on
some
you.
wings.
Oh. Picking on my poor bird. She did nothing to deserve that.
But she did nothing to avoid it.
So we have about
Hey.
10 more minutes, guys, in chat to answer questions. So shoot them our way, and we'll try and get them all answered. And we definitely, I think, we'll definitely try and do more of these once we have further information and stuff. We'll try and do more open AMAs to answer all your questions that you have related to Pantheon VOT individuals here that are on the show. We'll try and do that, and trying to think real quick. Next week's topic is crafting discussion next week. We'll be talking about crafting aspect of the game, and in particular the vision of crafting and how we could use the perception system with crafting and what we could kind of get out of that aspect, because it's already been kind of hinted at that they are trying to think of ways to bring the perception system into crafting. So we're going to be talking or address that and see what we can come up with to spark some interesting ideas, and see what else we can come up with. That's next week.
Okay, Kusami77 would like to know, how should a game like this be marketed on release? TV ads, YouTube users like Co, Facebook, MMO, fan sites. What would you guys like to see?
Support your streamers. They do it. They play the game for free. They put their resources behind it. All you got to do is support them, and there you get hours and hours and hours and hours of free promotions.
Yep.
And people actually get the experience of sitting there as if they're playing a demo. So you don't have to make a demo, even though we know Pantheon's going to have like that free to 1 to 10 or whatever kind of thing. But yes, support your streamers.
I also think that word of mouth is extremely important.
Yes.
And you know, I think that you have a look at the way certain games have gone, and they've done phenomenally well. Is there may be 1 or 2 ads, that type of thing, but it's the word of mouth ultimately, telling your friends and getting them involved and testing it out, ultimately bring more people on, and that is the best way to do it, I think.
Well,
Well,
and
the
word of
Twitch-
mouth works well with streamers too.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. Streamers, basically. If you look at Twitch, Mixer, doesn't matter what's out there, whatever platform you use, we've all done it. Every gamer has done it. You've sat there one night and you've watched a streamer stream out a game that you either play or that you're interested in. There's no better way, especially for free marketing, when it comes, because that's, you know, you got to think about the costs, TV ads, YouTube ads, doing magazine ads. This is money that goes in the millions of dollars for advertising alone. Especially if you want to do TV ads similar to what maybe, you know, Blizzard have done in the past. Ultimately, it's going to come down to the right marketing aspect on how you approach it. Streamers definitely going to be a first choice of people I would definitely try and approach, and get that out there. The fan sites are already doing their job, already promoting. Be it, you know, Pantheon 101 or the Pantheon Times or, you know, Pantheon Crafters MMO, and, you know, unofficial role players side, the guilds that are, you know, within the community already. They're already promoting the game. We're already doing a service in promoting the game and talking about it. So, and this is all free stuff. So they've got a huge marketing aspect, and especially with, you know, people like Co, and they're definitely going to benefit off of there. With that, so, you know, that's why I see it. TV ads is something that they could do, maybe, if, you know, in 5-10 years down the road, if they feel like. But TV ads is something that you would do when you're trying to go for a broader spectrum of, you know, a takeover. That's why Blizzard is so successful with World of Warcraft. You will not believe it. It's their marketing on TV. With, you know, that got them a lot of traction. A company in Germany did this. A high-tech company, MediaMarkt. You might have those in the US as well now. They basically sell TVs, this, that, and the other. They were the first company of that size back in the 80s to actually go and do TV ads on this aspect. It became the biggest brand in Europe. And, you know, that's how it works. And some companies don't do any advertising, and we wonder why. It has failed for some companies, but your streamers are going to be, or your players, people that are, you know, in chat, us, everybody out there who's streaming, talking about the game, playing other games and everything. Those are going to be the guys that are going to bring you people in. You know, people that are going to play it, stream it, talk about it with everybody else. So they will bring you in, and it's free advertising. Social media in general.
Well, even with like streamers and YouTubers and the like, say you give out a copy of your game and a free month to play to one of these guys, right? Well, what did it really cost you in the end? You know, honestly, not that much. And how many? Even if you got 10 new people to buy the game during that month, and that's assuming the absolute worst, that's still 10 that you got for the price of 1. You know? I mean,
Yep.
you really can't go wrong. And if someone sees, like, someone does it, say a streamer does like an unboxing because, you send them a cloth map of the game. It's like, whoa, my god! Now everyone that's viewing thinks these guys are awesome. Look at how they're treating their fans. And then all of a sudden it just cascades, and it's just like.
Yep.
So, SD Chandler would like to know if Bard will be available for launch yet.
So far, the state is post-launch.
Same with Necro.
Yep.
We'd love
And-
it to be at launch, but I
Yeah.
don't know yet.
And
Nobody knows.
here's the sad thing, guys. Time to get a little honest here. I'm playing on the little EQ server that I've been playing on. I've been playing a Bard, and I am freaking loving it. So I am actually super excited about the Pantheon Bard.
Wow.
Yep. So yeah.
Wow.
I'm
Direlord
right
said
there with
that.
you guys. I need to know.
Well, Arius has a question. Will the game be able to be played simply through mouse click? Some modern games have moved away from just being able to move and function with only the mouse. I ask due to concerns with persons with disabilities, such as a person without full use of both hands.
That's a very good point. Coming
Very
from
helping.
a guy that has some disabilities. Personally, I don't like the pointing, the click, but you bring up a very good reason why you should have it. I don't recall seeing anything in the settings when I remember going through them to see click to move or anything like that. But at this point in time, I would like to urge PR to maybe consider it, because there are a lot of disabled gamers out there that don't have full use of 2 hands. I mean, stuff happens.
Well, I've seen it in multiple games though. Actually, most games that I've played, especially MMOs, be it EverQuest 2, Terra, etc. When you click the left and right mouse button, you automatically move. It's something you can. I mean, those are minor things that I think they will definitely take into account. They will
Right.
definitely look at that, and take in the aspect of maybe everybody can use both hands equally and whatnot. So there's definitely room and ways to actually do that and support all that kind of tech. I don't see why they wouldn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the problem with like point and click, from my perspective, is that the pathing is never done that well, and there's no way to really do it that well. So it tends to either make the game really, really incredibly easy, or very frustrating, where you just turn it off. If they did like the old EverQuest, and I don't know any other games that do it off the top of my head, they did the left and right click hold and they move forward. That's an acceptable way to do it. I mean, you've got 4 fingers and a thumb, so you should be able to hold the 2 buttons, and you can still move forward. Is it going to be clunky for us? Yes. If that's what we were going to do, yes, it would be. But for someone with disabilities, they've been forced to get used to it.
Yep.
So it might be an acceptable way, and a nice medium ground.
Well, I do hope that you'll be able to have various buttons on your mouse that you can actually map your spell abilities to those buttons as well, to help people with
Yeah.
disabilities.
See, I've got 5 mouse buttons on mine.
Well, it comes down to how much variance they want to give us
And
in the
support
end
that they give
on
us.
Using your G keys, your function keys, etc. to add. Maybe you want to put the spell on G1, G2 on your mouse, etc. Use this button to jump or whatnot. So it all comes down to how much flexibility they're going to give us.
Yeah.
But I can't see why they wouldn't though.
Honestly, I because I don't like point to click or click to move. I personally don't want to see it. I'd rather see something else.
Well, basically, it's an option. They
is.
give people multiple
And
options. If they want to use
Yeah.
point to click, if they want to use left and right mouse button to do it, if they have to program a default button for it, whatever. Give them multiple choices.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Choice is the spice of life.
Yep.
And I think I have the Logitech Prometheum mouse. I think.
So any other
I don't
questions,
remember.
Shine?
It was like $10.
No, other than the one that he just answered.
Okay. So, we have, we made it. We made it through a whole hour. Awesome.
And I spent a half hour on the phone.
Yes, you did. So technically, Lex should be available for you guys for another half hour. Me and Josh, we're going to go and drink a cold brew, and we'll be back in about 30 minutes. Enjoy your personal time with Lex.
I'm the boring bastard out of the lot, so no.
So with that, guys, we hope you enjoyed this AMA, and we'll definitely plan to do more in the future. And don't be shy to ask any questions, personal or not, or related to Pantheon. And you're definitely going to hear a lot more stuff from Lex and his bot. I'm looking really, really forward to. But it's definitely going to be an awesome thing. And we'll see you next Thursday again for crafting. And just a reminder, if you have any ideas or anything you want us to address, talk about as a show, we have a document in the Pantheon forums. We have a document on our website, or linking to the document. It's on a Google Drive. You can download it. Use that as a guide if you want, or write it up yourself in Word, whatever, and shoot it our way. Send us that document, and we will basically address it and see if we can plan a show with what your ideas are and whatnot. So,
and I know I say this every time, but the document is there just to help us stay organized.
Yep. So, your final thoughts, guys?
Yeah, I think it's very much a hurry up and wait situation at the moment from VR, because they are working pretty hard on that, and I'm sure we'll see a lot more information coming through. But yeah, really look forward to talking about new stuff in the future.
Yeah, I can't wait to get some new information to gum to death. But like, biggest thing that I can honestly say to the community is just be patient. I know a lot of people have considerable sums of money into Pantheon at this point. Hell, for me, $50 is considered significant. But it's like this: when you've got money behind it, you should be doing everything in your power not to let them rush. If they rush, you might as well just burn that money and throw it outside. Let them take their time. Help them take their time. Support them. Have their backs. And that way, when the game comes out, you're going to feel better about the money that you spent on this game. Because let's face it, in a lot of cases, you spent a considerably large amount of money over what you normally spend on an MMO. Just to buy the game. So, just be patient. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Even with kind of like media blackouts, I guess, with them, most game companies, it's because they're working. Everybody is working. They don't have time to really just send the information out. Although, granted, it would be nice. I'll be the first one to tell you it would be nice. Yeah, patience. It will come, and it will be grand.
Cool. With that, guys, I say good night. Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope the stream was technically functional for everybody. No problems out there. We did have problems in the past. I've been having outages with my download speeds, and I actually had an outage yesterday completely. Service was completely out the window. But things are looking bright, and I hope that we now have all the technical issues worked out. Like I said, we have not changed a thing in the setups. So, it's out of our hands. Windows being a bug and messing things up, and the provider messed up a few things. So it was really out of our hands, and that's why we had technical difficulties with, audio, video on our last show. and that sometimes happens. So we do apologise again for that, and we hope that now everything starts to run more smoothly. And we will see you all next Thursday, and then after that it's Tavern Talk. The month already is over. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. We're already heading towards July. So with that, good night, guys.
Night, guys.
Be safe, people.
Good night.
Thank you.